Yeah, welcome everyone to another episode of the Mere Mortals Meandering session. This is indeed the one where myself, Kyron,
Juan here,
and Juan go out to our local park, our local area. We're in South Bank today, beautiful sunny day, and we go on the lighter side of things today. So topics that are not particularly related, things that we've been encountering in the last 2 weeks, because we have indeed just been splitting up these episodes with conversations in between. My last one was with Hosky, I think it was. Yeah, Hosky.
Yes.
And more coming out soon, so check out them. Juan, big news today.
Big news.
Cracker Island was released. Do you know what Cracker Island is?
No, yeah. What the hell is Cracker Island?
Cracker Island is the latest Gorillaz album. And it's been a long time since... Today. I've actually listened to it twice just before we came here. And... man, it's been a long time since I've been excited for an album of kind of any artist. And I've been, listening to their singles coming out, Cracker Island, Thundercat.
So the singles have been coming out, but the full album
has not been released.
I'll say this right now. I did hear one of the latest singles that has come out.
Yeah, which one?
Trash. Hated it. Don't even know. Hated it. It was little garbage. I listened to it. I was listening to it with someone. I don't remember who it was. But I was like, what piece of shit is this? Who is singing this?
Oh, Lord.
And I went, it's Gorillaz. I was like, man, this is woeful. This is woeful. So to all the Gorilla fans out there who have been talking about, we've gotten lots of messages. I'm going to tell you right now, that was trash.
Okay.
Trash single. I don't even know what it was. Trash.
So the singles have been Cracker Island, Silent Running, New Gold, and I think maybe Skinny Ape.
Yeah, look, I've got a terrible taste in music, so I will put that up.
Obviously.
But it was trash. Whatever. I don't even know what it was. It was on the radio for a minute before I got so sick of listening to it. I was like, this needs to stop right now.
Gorillaz fandom, you can attack him.
Yeah, hate it.
Well, one of the reasons I bring this up was because I created a clip of myself talking about an initial reaction to Gorillaz when the band first came out. And look, I was coming with what I perceived in my little bubble at the time was reaction.
Which audiences are like, wrong.
Yes,
you perceived it wrong.
And, to make the case clear, I fucking love Gorillaz. I kind of missed some of their middle albums, I'd say. I was really into the first three, Demon Days, Gorillaz, the self-titled, and Plastic Beach. Mm-hmm. Missed some of the middle ones. I believe this is their 8th that's come out. And, yeah, man, fucking love it.
Okay.
There's maybe like 1 or 2 songs from this new album which didn't connect with me straight away. Yep. Of the... how many songs are on this? 10?
10.
And one of the things that I really love about Gorillaz is just their collaborations, like their ability to get these random people from different styles and create something that is, it kind of flows. There's a method to the madness. So some of the collaborations on this were Stevie Nicks, Thundercat, Adele Omotayo, don't know how to pronounce, Tame Impala, Booty Brown, and Bad Bunny, and Beck. If you think of all of them, it's like Tame Impala, Australian psychedelic almost rock type things. Beck, alternative country music, electronic folk song type of things. Bad Bunny, I guess that's like popular culture, hip hop, Spanish. Who else? Adele Omotayo is one of the backup singers for the choir that they had, so it's kind of like soulful, I guess. Booty Brown is just kind of almost straight rap. What the fuck? How do you get all of those people in a one album and make it, well, good in your case?
So I've got to say, everything that you just said there, in my mind, like I'm listening to you speak, and look, again, let me classify it. I don't give 2 dog shits about albums, to be honest. Like I don't really care about music. My personal use of music
you're a single type of person.
I listen to music at the gym. Maybe sometimes I would, if I'm cooking or doing something with friends, I would just look for a category of relaxing or Sunday music or cooking music, right? I'm not an album person, not really. I think of the only ones that I've listened to an album, like a full album, in the last 10 years, probably 2. Max, shit. Right? So, but when you say that sort of stuff, and I go, man, who cares? Who gives a shit? So low on the scale of care factor. It's like, okay. However,
that's hilarious.
So that being said, I would say that also recently there has been a ongoing clip. You can throw it up here as well because it's pretty famous at the moment. It's gone viral, where it's Ellie Goulding singing in a church. I don't know if you've seen this going around. No. So it's Ellie Goulding singing in a church, and it's her doing a partnership with David Guetta and doing a new song. Can't remember the name of it. Mm-hmm. Miracle, I believe it may be. In any case, loved it. I was like, oh, this little snippet of what the song's going to come. I was like, in a similar feeling how you were saying, like, I'm kind of excited to listen to that particular song, but never for like an album. Like, obviously, I don't know if that single's coming out as a single or with an album or more, but I go, I couldn't give two shits about the album. However, I'm excited to hear that particular song. So yeah, I will classify that everything that I'm saying, I am more of a particular song, single that I enjoy. This goes with the same with Cog, Better Further. Like, I kind of introduced myself to that song recently, like very recently. Really enjoy it. The rest of the stuff, hate it.
Yeah.
Hate it. I don't want to listen to any of that. I'll listen to that particular song. That's what I like. Nothing else being listened to. And there's only a few artists in my life that I've gone, oh yeah, I like everything that they have. Breaking Benjamin, Dream Theater, 1,000 Foot Crutch, some of Killswitch Engage, a lot of these bands. But again, it's few and far between. And they're not popular mainstream, I would say. Maybe Breaking Benjamin out of all of them, perhaps. But they're not mainstream.
No.
And it's definitely just the way that I utilize music for my own personal day-to-day life.
Well, I think I've been similar in the sense that, in general, as I mentioned, this is the first album I've actually been excited for in a while. And I think, how much of that is due to just the nature of the ways that you can listen to these things, YouTube Music or YouTube in general, Spotify. There is more of an emphasis, TikTok even, on the single. And that's how you kind of find things. And there's this kind of more drip style approach to releasing music versus the kind of anticipated album build up, that type of, like, I'm pretty sure it used to be you'd release the album and then the singles would be coming after the album had been already released.
Gotcha.
Whereas, this one obviously there was
going the other way.
Very different. So I'm kind of similar in that respect, but I think I do have that still passion for the album, which, my tastes were, a bit more different, like Regurgitator, Cat Empire, Gorillaz, Linkin Park, that sort of stuff.
Obviously, to each their own. There's
but
all
most of those are from, early 2000s, and so, I don't know. I'm curious as to how albums are actually taken in nowadays. I'm pretty sure the general thing is singles are the thing, and albums aren't what they used to be, I guess.
This actually, here's another example. So at work, when we do Friday trivias, and every second Friday, let's just say, some of the questions will be undoubtedly name this album and the artist.
Yeah.
Right? And it'll either be the images or no examples.
Like
I never, ever get it. Like,
No.
the only one I got recently was a Tame Impala one and a Metallica one.
Okay.
And that's purely because I've listened to the song and seen it on YouTube and seen, like, the cover.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have no freaking clue. And a lot of people know about them. Like, oh, yeah, that's this and that's that. This is the same for, I guess, me with movies and music. So I'll give you another example. Lex Fridman at the moment, I don't know how aware you are of this. And Lex, if you're listening to this, if we're going to clip this, if you come into Brisbane, dude, we are having a coffee. So he put it out to the world. I don't know if you saw. Yep.
It's on my to-do list.
Cool. So he put it out to the world that he's going to be traveling the world and unsure where in the world that actually means. He didn't actually classify it. But he said, would you like to catch up? If you do, hey, reach out. So I filled in that form. I put on quite a bit of the details. But one of those fields in the form actually called out, hey, talk about what your favorite books are, favorite movies, favorite music. Now, favorite books, fine, and interest, fine. But then favorite music and movies. Like music, okay, what I just said is what I put in there. But then movies, I was like,
oh shit.
Damn, I was like, I genuinely don't have a favorite movie. Like, I don't.
Did you say that? You should have said that.
I think I said that, but if I had to gun to my head, I gave a selection of things. I liked Schindler's List. I watched that quite a few times. I actually enjoyed it.
Okay.
I think I did put the original.
I associate that with school, and so I go, well.
Yeah, that was the only one ever that I disassociated from school and actually enjoyed re-watching and enjoyed watching it the second time more. Okay. So there's that. Transformers, because I always watched it so many times and obviously find some joy in it, and a lot of action movies. So I was like, if I had gun to my head, I'd say that. But realistically, it's like none. It's none of them. If you had to pick, go for a 1 hour 2 hour rock hike with like 30 kilograms, or watch a movie, I'd do rock. Like, I would generally, every time.
Let's make it harder. Would you rather do 2 hour meditation session or watch a 2 hour movie? 2 hour movie. 2 hour movie. Yeah, it's too hard. 2 hour meditation is too hard. It's not the worst. It's not the worst. But it's certainly not going to be. It's not like a really joyful thing for me. Yeah.
Last night I was watching a movie as well, and it was starting to get late. And by late, for me, this is like dinner time for Karen.
10 p.m.
And I honestly, at the first sign of just getting a little tired, I was like, I'm not going to watch it anymore. That's it.
Yeah.
Turn it off. It's
Gotcha.
all good. I was even enjoying it. Tag, 2015 movie with I don't know who. It's kind of enjoyable, but I was like, nah, that's fine. Cool. Don't watch it anymore. And I'm probably never going to watch the end of it.
Hashtag turning 30.
I'll never watch the rest of it. That's it. But I would have been the same at 18, 16, 14. Like, it's okay. It's I don't care.
Yeah,
Same with music. Same with... another thing that people really dislike about me, often if I'm listening to music with them, I'll skip the song at about a minute in.
Yeah.
I listen to the song and maybe 4 minutes, 5 minutes. 1 minute in, bam, next one. Minute in, bam, next one. Minute in, bam, next one.
I think there's a somewhat of an unwritten rule that you don't skip. Once you've gotten to a certain point of a song, probably around that minute, halfway, you kind of got to go through it, even if you're not feeling it.
For me,
or you know the ending is kind of tapering off. And
I'll often do that. So I do go against the grain sometimes on this particular topic.
Dang.
So,
man, I'm the normal one here. That's weird.
Yeah, got to find that.
Man, so talking about the feedback or about that clip that I created, so you'll have been noticing I've been creating a lot more clips on this channel, tons of them. I'm putting out about 6 a day, 4 of them on the Mere Mortals and 2 of them on the book reviews. I might even up that up because I've got so much backlog that I could probably even do 6 a day or something. And one of the things that people say, and I feel like we're starting to gain a bit of steam. There's been a bit more traction in terms of commenting, or in terms of people reaching out. Even Emmett Lewis has asked, can I grab all those clips you've created and put them on the Handstand Factory? And I'm like, yeah, for sure. Of course, I'd already deleted half of them, so I had to re-download them and send them, but it's all right. And with this gaining of steam, there's a classic, they say 99% of comments are good and the 1% are bad, and people focus on the bad. Like, no, you shouldn't be doing that. Don't let internet culture ruin your life, things like that. Fuck off, man. I have not seen 99% good. I have been 100% unpredictable. I see the notification of someone's written something in the morning, and I go, I have no idea what to expect from this. This could be a thank you thing. It could be pointing out something. It could be, some of my favorites have been, I was talking about overfishing. Some guy asked, like, if I kick a fish in the face, what color will it be? It's like, I don't know. You do it and tell me. There's been, the offended because I've been putting stuff on people's faces. There's been just straight up bizarre ones. There was the one who was making fun of how it only had 1 like, and I was like, oh, thanks, mate. I appreciate it. And then he says nice things back, and obviously not realizing that there was a human behind. Like, it's just, I have no idea what to expect when I open these things.
It's a mixed bunch, which, look, fine, and often...
No, it's much more fun than 99% good. Like,
1% bad.
Keeps my ego in check for sure if it's like...
It is, that is true. That's a good thing.
What's coming?
One of the things I think personally, at least in my personal social profiles, is that I have progressed. I'm confident to say, I'd say 95% confident to say that I couldn't give 2 rat's ass about anything that comes from them now. Like, really couldn't give an iota of shit if someone comments on a post. I can really see the Joe Rogan methodology of don't look at the comments, don't look at anything. I like the Tim Ferriss approach of just no comment. You can't comment on his Instagram post. None. You can't see any. So there's a lot of that I'll be like, I might even transition to that. I don't need to, because I don't get any comments. You know what I mean? I'm posting things that I don't want comments. I'm not expecting comments. I've even progressed to almost forcing it upon myself that if you ever want to go check out my stories that I post on my personal profile, they're odd. And they're getting odder. As in, like, someone will be like, oh, what the hell was that supposed to be that story? Fantastic. I'll make it even weirder. Like, even like nobody, it's abstract as hell. Fine. I'm like getting enjoyment out of doing that. So that part of it, I think I feel really confident that whatever type of commentary or feedback is like, thank you very much, don't give a shit. No matter if it's good or bad, really. And for the Mere Mortals podcast, though, I don't think I've gotten enough of the commentary that comes back at me saying, no, that was wrong, no, you're stupid. There's been a few, and...
Just wait for the Gorillaz one.
Oh, wait for the Gorillaz one. And look, come at me. I should expect people to say, man, you're an idiot. How do you not know Gorillaz? You should have listened to it more. You're not listening in the correct way. Sure, it's probably likely. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a shit, right? That's just what it is. Cool. Come at me. But in other cases, there's a lot of people who have backed me up in a lot of our conversations and commentaries and discussions. Sure. Fine. Maybe I've been the bearer of the more positive comments and on the negative side. So
Well,
please feel free to roast me, folks, me Immortalites out there. Feel free to take down my ego a peg or two so I can see what it will be like if I have more hatred coming through me in social media profiles.
Well, I mean, part of that's just because I've been making more comments myself, i.e. all the book reviews and things like that, so sort of to be expected in that regard. Yeah, it's a weird one, man. If you'd asked me a year or two ago, I would have said I'm not going to make any clips. No, fuck that. Like, listen to the full thing. That's what I enjoy doing.
Well, if you can recall, when YouTube Shorts was going to come out, I remember telling you about it. And I was like, hey, YouTube Shorts coming out. They're going to I think we really got into it. I don't believe either of us really had much of a motivation to get on top of it at the very beginning. We weren't excited. We weren't oh yeah, there's the opportunity. We're like, Shorts, whatever. And we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
But of
just
course,
another
fast forward
thing,
now, here we are.
Yeah, well, I guess my thoughts are as you kind of progress along and do things, it's that weird kind of tension. Not that I consider myself an artist. Check out the Justin Fox conversation to see how deeply I don't consider myself that. That's coming out in a week. But there is this kind of tension where it's like, I don't want to do things just to appease people, I guess, in a sense. But, I also don't want to do things not to appease people, as in I don't want to do things which are just completely valueless.
Yeah, exactly.
There's this tension between the two. I'm coming to accept, okay, sitting down to an hour-long conversation is a fair chunk of time. If I want it to, people have the ability more to just check out kind of what we're about. Funny little snippets of you hating on Gorillaz, of me just being a mad lad, all of those sorts of things. Yeah, sure. I've got to be the one who's willing to put in the time and effort. And because there is some success in that, i.e. it is getting to a bit more of a broader audience, I'll continue to do that. Because I've created clips on Podverse and things like that, and they've just gained no steam. And those ones are fuck, what am I doing?
Yeah, it is valuable for the moment.
Yeah. So, yeah, lots of, I don't know, just fun things that you can realize about yourself and the world, even when you're doing these, I don't know, random stuff, I guess.
Sure, just little snippets.
Yeah. You got anything interesting? Or
well, I was going to actually ask you about YouTube podcasting, because you did mention this to me, and I wasn't aware of it at all. What is it? Is it important? Is it valuable?
It's nothing valuable yet. Potentially in the future. At the moment, it's essentially a glorified playlist. You can put a different picture on there. Wow.
Okay. Useless. Okay, fair enough. Useless so far.
A glorified playlist with perhaps the ability in the future that it might make its way into YouTube Music, is what they've been saying.
Gotcha.
So that might be a differentiator in the future, much like Spotify put in podcasting.
The reason I was asking it was I Googled YouTube podcast or podcasting. I can't remember what exactly. Now, I don't know if this is still the case, but the first thing that came up was from YouTube itself, talking about the podcast thing. I clicked on it, it 404. It went to a page that didn't even exist. Nice. So YouTube themselves obviously had a 404 display. I was like, okay, must not be very important if it's not even working.
It's mostly hype at this stage, but we'll see what happens. I'm on top of it. I'll keep you informed.
We'll see if it becomes valuable. I mean, the only item that I had off the top of my mind has been not injuries, but the fraying of our tendons, we shall say. And we're walking here, and I was already having a conversation to you about, there's some instances in my life where I'm feeling like my tendons are sore. And look, realistically, I'm probably gonna give myself a big break when the baby comes. That's gonna be my little break, and sure, that's gonna be cool. I actually had a thought in my mind to use last week as a deload, and I semi-did, and I semi-didn't. So I deloaded.
Which means he didn't.
I deloaded from my strength aspect, which did help my joints, but I loaded up on the exercise by way of conditioning. So a little bit better on my joints, still a lot of workout, still a lot of movement. So, it's not a delay. It was just I'm putting pressure in different ways. So I'm looking forward to
deluding yourself.
I'm looking forward to my forced time off. But once again, I asked you this, a month or a month and a half back, are you seeing improvements? Are you starting to shift your mind on okay, maybe I don't do handstands anymore. This is not good for my body. Still none of that.
Man, it sounds like you're trying to convince me that I'm gonna pussy out on my handstand journey and
well,
whatnot.
I think it's inquiring. It's inquiring.
Yeah,
At
no,
what point?
It's a good question.
What if the next time that you do another long handstand session, you really fuck up your tendon? Like, oh, now you can't predict it, but it's like, oh, I can't actually use it now for a year.
Yeah. Well, so in the handstand cast, they were talking about how one of the ways that they almost know that someone's kind of serious and will get to the next level is their reaction to an injury, their first injury. And basically their thesis is, this is Emmett Lewis and Mikhail Christensen, and they basically say at some point, if you're going for these kind of higher levels, you're going to get injured. You're going to get tendonitis, you're going to do something to your shoulder, to your wrist. Shoulder and wrist are the most two common. This is for handstand specific. Something bad's going to happen. There's just too much unpredictability with the one-arm handstand.
Yep.
There's so many ways you can mess yourself up. I've messed myself up doing two-arm handstands, so yeah.
Here comes the one arm.
Yeah, times that by 10. The reaction to that is what dictates how far someone will get. And my reaction so far for this, it's minor. Look, I've had a month off, and I probably could have done more during that month if I really wanted to. I'm serious about this. I'm pretty sure that kind of like come hell or high water, I will get a one-arm handstand. What level I get to is going to be very much dictated upon
that was going to be my follow-up question
circumstances.
to you was, okay, let's say you take a month, maybe it needs to be a few more weeks, and you come back at it, and all of a sudden, let's just say you were holding a minute 20 handstands or a minute handstands, you can only now hold it for 20 seconds. And say one-arm handstands with like support, maybe you're doing 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds. Now it's 2 seconds. And maybe you do eventually get to the one-arm handstand, but it's a 2-3 second hold max because of tendon pain. Is that, you'd say like, yes, that is still valuable enough. I'm going to do it no matter what? Or does it become now, that's starting to be like, okay, that's not worth it now to push for that?
See, that's a hard one because that hypothetical is just almost too far out of the bounds for me. It'd kind of be like for me saying, you do something and you wouldn't be able to do a 60 kilo bench press or something like that. Like I just feel I've put in so much work and volume that I just don't see how I couldn't get a 20-second, barring catastrophic injury that keeps me out for that long, which is I'd be willing to work my way back. I think once again it would come back quicker. One of the great things about doing yoga in my early 20s is it feels like I've locked in something, which is funny because, and same with soccer actually. I was juggling a ball the other day and I just went, wait, probably a lot of people wish they could do this.
Yeah, I had that exact thing at the beach the other day. A random ball just came up out of the ocean, like genuinely. I was like, where did the ball come from? And
Poseidon wants you to play.
And it took me back to when I was like 13 or 14 in the backyard juggling a ball. I remember the first time I ever was trying to crack, I think it was 50 juggles or something like that, and I got it. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I think I got to like 28 or 29 at the beach, and I was like, oh yeah, this is fun. But it was one of those things that the skill is there. It's always there.
Yeah. This
is a difference though, because it's like you'll always have the skill. I don't think you'll ever retract from the skill. But if you have a physical limitation to you, as in like if your tendon is so frayed that it is it like set limits, hey, whatever you were doing before, you can only now do 30% of it. Do you think it's still valuable to continue? Like, is it a conversation for you that, if it
needs to get better,
if it hits a certain threshold, I would stop, or I would do it no matter what, even if it's 1% of what I used to do?
Look, if it got to that level and I didn't see the ability to kind of progress in the future, as in it's so far down that it would take 5 years, 10 years to get back to where I am kind of nowish. That would maybe go, okay, I'll still probably do this. I still really enjoy the act of doing a handstand. Yeah, once again, I mean, like, if it's 10 years, that's almost getting to the point of never.
No, but 10 years is like, it's possible. I'm talking like never. Because there is an example for me in the lifting world, right?
Okay.
For me, there is quite a reasonable expectation for myself that I will never, ever deadlift more than what I used to.
Yeah. Now,
there are people who are older and do deadlift heavier weight. For myself, I know that there's not enough dedication to the deadlift. There's pre-existing injuries that I have that would make it unreasonable for me to actually put in the amount of effort that would take to go past that, it is right for me to say I will never deadlift more than what I've deadlifted in the past. That's it. Never. It doesn't, though, take me away from continuing to deadlift and progress on the current.
Yeah.
Even though I will never get past that point. So that's sort of my question to you. If you hit a minute 20 handstand and you will never go beyond that ever, that's it. Will you continue to do it even though it's maintaining like a 40 second, a 50 second, a 40 second?
Yeah, for sure. I would still do it, but probably much like you, the importance of it would drop. So
which it has for me, right?
Yeah.
Like for my example, I used to deadlift quite a bit. I would program for it. I'm now coming to the realization that I'm probably going to never plan to, that month I'm now going to really focus on the deadlift. No, I think that's now past. It's use it, but not abusing it to the point that it needs for me to get to a certain level.
Yeah. It's kind of that idea of never quitting at something you're never going to achieve, but then maybe you can achieve it, and this is like a lot of the motivation porn and whatnot. I personally don't ascribe to that per se. I'm more along the lines of yes, work hard for sure, but like never say never, that sort of thing. I'm not. Every time I've said never, of like never going to give up, never going to let you down, never going to walk around and desert you. I've always done those things.
Look, this is a Mere Mortals podcast. If you're an elite person out there who's willingly committing themselves to do the absolute max to just achieve this one outcome of like that you've done before and you want to best it, okay, this is not these recommendations are not for you. But generally, for an average mere mortal to find more joy in what you're doing, you probably want to have like some sort of progression, some sort of improvement. For me, it's quite clear that there's going to come a certain point in my life where, from a lifting perspective, I'm going to have to shift what now becomes the goal. It's going to be higher rep range related. It's going to be more of the endurance, cardiovascular stuff that I haven't done as much in the past, because it will allow me to grow. I know that there is, even in the lifting style related, there's a lot of CrossFit type workouts. There's a lot of distance running. There's a lot of swimming. There's a lot of other things, which I just haven't applied myself too much. And in doing so, at probably any age from now into the future, I will improve on, just because I'm untrained in it. But there are certain modalities now for me, such as specific lifting, powerlifting, that I'm not going to improve because I've just been doing for such a long time now that the extra whatever percent to go beyond what I was before will take an unreasonable amount of effort that I'm not willing to spend in the moment, in the current time.
And there's just the realization of, I suppose, getting wiser, getting older, or if you're a youngster listening in, one's getting lazy. Depends on your perspective.
I think it's reality. If an 18-year-old younger is listening to this, that's lazy, I'm never going to be like that. Dude, I remember thinking this exact same thing, right? I remember being like, I'm always going to keep on getting stronger. I had this mindset like, you're going to get to 40 and you're going to be jacked. It does happen. Look, it does happen. There are, like, I'm talking powerlifting in particular, through the use of drugs and not drugs. Through the use of drugs and no drugs, that people are getting stronger and become like really elite. Go and see what some of them are either doing in terms of like their lifestyle behavior to make that happen, or the injuries that they have to deal with. Because more often than not, with a lot of the powerlifters, you got stuffed up hips, you got injuries, you got recovery. Same thing with bodybuilders. Either you're dead at an older age, or you've got a terrific amount of injuries, or you have to go and do so. For me, there's a certain level. It's probably most mere mortals listening to this. You're not wanting to do it to the point that you're so injured that it's just a struggle every day to wake up in life. No, I don't want to do that. I want to be able to be mobile, do things. I mean, for me, expecting kids now, it's like, hey, I want to be able to move, to play soccer, to not feel like a fragile old man next to them. And that is going to dictate that I'm not chasing, a brand new deadlift PR. No, it means settling. Well, I won't even say the word settling, because I think some people would find it like a bit atrocious, and even me in certain senses. I'd say refocusing your efforts into other places where you're going to find renewed growth, and you'll get more joy out of that than pounding your head at at a brick wall trying to get a new deadlift PR or something equivalent.
I suppose the other difference between us two is, I'm working on something which is definitely skill based. In terms of the actual muscle and things that I need to work on to actually get better at, there's a lot of handstanders in their kind of 40s who are fucking good.
I don't know this, so you probably have to inform us more than anything. Is it really not that, as in like tendons, your joints, it's I would have thought it was like 80% worth, like, or maybe skills 50%, your musculature, your tendons, your wrist, and the ability to hold it is another 50%. But are you more like, oh no, it's like 80% skill, 20% that?
Yeah, I'd probably say leaning more towards the 80% skill, just because you see some very various different types of body shapes of people who can do some pretty good handstands. There's the skinny ballerina type, skinny Mikhail type, who's, I guess skinny whenever I say jacked, and Juan's just like, no, that person's not jacked. So skinny hand balancer, i.e. looking like me.
Have you heard the terminology where it's like it doesn't count if they're skinny with abs?
Yeah.
That's what it is. It doesn't count. It does not count. It's just skinny.
Yeah. And or like, a fat chick with boobs, I guess, is the other the counter example.
At what point do you think we're going to get cancelled out of some of our normal platforms? Because we're not going to. So again, we're not going to get cancelled. We are in the Valley for Valley model where we are, for want of a better sense, you can't really cancel us in a lot of other platforms.
Well,
but we can get shunned out of some of the main current audience-based places where people listen to the most for podcasts. Spotify, YouTube, those sort of things.
Value for value doesn't particularly apply in this case because we could, do this without having money coming in. We've been doing that for 3 years.
No, true. Okay,
so
true.
It's more how decentralized is the actual podcast, i.e. how many different places can people get it and how many different places are we relying all our effort on. Video-wise, if we get kicked off YouTube, that'll be a problem. There's so much stuff on there.
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't keep all the video because I just do not have the hardware space to maintain that. Yeah. So if we got kicked off YouTube, then that would suck. But once again, I view YouTube.
Can you see a time that we will get kicked off YouTube?
Honestly, man, look. So one of the goals you'll see coming up for the monthly goals is I'm going to be, I think I said more direct. And what I mean by more direct is you'll notice in my just general way of speaking, I use a lot of modal verbs. So can, may, should, that sort of thing, which indicates my probability or my certainty of saying a specific subject. I'm thinking maybe it would be good. I even just use that, maybe. I think it would be good if I just say things more direct, and that is when you tend to get more cancelled, I think. If you're just throwing out these things. Honestly, I think probably not, just because we're not... I just don't feel we have that extra bite in us that some people do, whether it be the super creativity of, that blurring that line between a boudoir and pornography, much like Justin Fox does, of that, I suppose, aggressiveness to say things outlandish and stuff like that. Neither of us.
Well, definitely not for the viewership of it as well. Same thing goes to, you haven't. We did a podcast slightly about this already, but you don't really hear us talk about wokeism, transgenderism. Transgender. Let's discuss genders. Is it just two? Is it more? What's a gender blender? And have you met anyone with gender? Have you heard gender blender? No. Go look it up, please. But because why? Why? Because I don't actually think that it is valuable to be sharing that across to the people who are listening to us. Really, as in, I've got nothing else to offer to this.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a theoretical
we're not in
brown white male. We're not really in the space where we could say on either side, what's good or bad about it. There's a lot of conversations around, the LGBTIQ plus community has had a lot of issues with violence and that. Maybe so. I have no idea. I have zero idea. I don't really interact with too many people who are in that community. I've had some friends in the past when I was in CrossFit. I don't know. They just seemed really joyous and happy. Cool. That's fine. It's nothing that I could ever really comment on. So I just feel like we don't really get into topics that are at the
we're not in the cultural trenches. We're not fighting on the front lines.
Nor do we want to. Yeah.
The philosophy in the park. Philosophy by its very nature is kind of dictated towards the uncool, deeper things, which perhaps, and I don't mean deeper as in fuck, we're so spiritual and better than the cultural stuff, or the current cultural things. I could see us getting cancelled because I would hold some views and I don't follow the latest trends, and I say something which
against it hard.
Yeah, which perhaps has an underlying principle, and I just frame things wrong. I say things wrong all the time. So if if you want to get cancelled enough, yeah, sure. I would say we won't get cancelled probably because we just won't reach a big enough level.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's a good point. It won't matter.
Yeah, exactly. When I look at more the path that, I'm personally going down, it's more someone like Chris from Jupiter Broadcasting. So he's got a whole shit ton of shows. Bitcoin Dad, Linux Unplugged, Coda Radio, Office Hours, and there's a whole suite of them. It's a ridiculous amount of shows that he does, and these are all under kind of his own Jupiter Broadcasting label, podcast company, I guess. All of them are just Linux. Fucking who gives a shit about Linux in the cultural context? Can you get cancelled by saying anything Linux related? I doubt it.
Maybe there are some strong Linux views out there.
Could be. All of these other ones, they're just so tech news. Bitcoin, random office stuff that he does related to decentralization and more tech stuff. Like it's nerdy things. I see that as more the route I'm going down, and you're kind of dragging you along with me with the podcast in 2.0 and whatnot. And by default, I just don't think that's going to appeal to the masses. So
no, and that's okay. And that's totally okay. I think pitch myself, at least in my own idea, when I talk about now podcasting and I'm doing these conversations, meanderings, musings, interviews, book reviews and the like around, hey, the value we are providing is, once again, we're mere mortals having a conversation with another mere mortal or presenting information in a mere mortal way. That is personal experiences, our own viewpoints. It's not really valuable for us to comment or query on a particular trend across the world, gender pay gap, again, LGBTIQ plus community. Why? There's little value for us to really be adding into it. I think there's something to be said, and I kind of dislike people who, just because you have a strong opinion of something, you then need to communicate out to the masses, or you need to throw your chatter into the mix. No, you don't. Fuck off. You don't need to do that. Keep it to yourself. Why are you such an important human being? And this goes to anybody. No one is. No one is so important that you have to throw it in there. Now, that doesn't mean that nobody does, because there are important people and important times when you have to do that and trends. It is to say that I am of a lesser value here in adding some of these conversations. Take, for instance, the love and the hate that Jordan Peterson gets, right? Now,
I was thinking of.
I think him and a lot of other people are doing very valuable contributions in the free speech debate, in a lot of debates that are just not happening. Whatever end of the debate you fall on, right? So, saw lots of clips of Jordan yesterday of him, battling back around transgender and people saying he was transphobic and the way that he replied. Some of the core stuff that he communicates is, hey, I'm really caring just more so about the freedom of speech and the ability to have some of these debates, because, as he says it, maybe in 5 to 10 years' time, you can't even have these debates, right? And I go, cool, I champion that. I personally go, I champion that. I think that I like the decentralized way that things are moving towards. I like that ability to just kind of communicate your own mind or opinion, even if it's the wrong one, to a certain, let's just say, social and justice degree. I don't affirm to you going and communicate about how people should kill themselves and stuff like that. Okay, there's some things I don't affirm to, but I do believe in the ability to be, open and communicate. I might have a strong view on that. Doesn't mean that my shit actually means anything in the chatter volume, right? I don't particularly believe that me adding to that equation is really adding or helping. It's more, at least in my own sense and the way that I interact and contribute to society in general, that's enough. It's not like I need to go out and put it out to the public opinion and view and change your mind. So, I say this, I'm not currently preaching to you mere mortalites out there, hey, you should do that. No. Have your own views, go and look into it, have the information, make your own decisions. I'm kind of okay with whatever you go, but I do champion it. So if you have to ask me my personal opinion, cool, I have that personal opinion. So I think, at least the original question about YouTube or somewhere else, kicking us off, I think if we were to get big enough, which I think is a crucible, because if you're small enough, nobody cares. But if we were big enough, I think it's going to be some of our opinions which we hold, which will get us kicked off to a certain degree, because even though we don't add it into the mix, getting it to a certain size will feel to people like we're adding it into the mix, right? And I've heard that before from other friends of ours to say like, you're two white people doing a podcast and, sometimes get things wrong. Yeah, that's what it is, but we make no mistakes or qualms about it. fuck yeah, get things wrong. That's why we're called the mere mortals. Shit, like, we get things wrong, we'll quote things wrong. We'll try not to. We're, like, really attempting not to. But there's beauty in the failure and the things that are wrong that I think make every human accepting of themselves, right? If you there was another clip that I saw. It was this guy interviewing, like, lots of girls, and all the girls were like, yeah, I'm a 10 out of 10. And the guy was like, hey, let's step back. Why? Like, no, because we're all at 10 out of 10. So, and then he was like, oh, well, does that mean all the guys here are 10 out of 10? And she was like, right? I kind of go, no, be real. Like, nobody's 10 out of 10, right? If you're talking bell curve, like, nobody is 10 out of 10 in whatever you want to talk about, any perspective. Be okay with that. Be okay with that. Doesn't mean that you have to be thinking in your mind that you're the perfect example of a human. You're not, if you listen to this, you're not, like, I know I'm not. We'll never be that. And I think we talked about this. I liked your example of this. I did see the clip, which was you've got to be at the top level of a mere mortal. That's where you should strive to be, the top of a mere mortal, not some mythical legend. Top of a mere mortal. If you're doing that, you strive. Yeah, that's the correct level of striving.
Yeah, for sure. One of the ways we could get cancelled is I feel like I've got enough grit in me to be like, fuck off. If I do say something which I do believe in and is a representation of what I do think, I do think I've got enough grit in me to be like, I don't give a fuck. I'm not going to recant on what I said. Like, actually, no apologies.
This will be the other thing. If we get wealthy enough, we will definitely get cancelled, I reckon.
Okay.
I reckon that there's a good level of, when you have enough wealth, you become less cautious, I would say, to what other people believe. Because you don't give a shit, right? Imagine the Jordans, imagine Joe Rogan, right? Joe Rogan doesn't give a shit what he's saying. He doesn't care. Like, even if he gets kicked out, who cares? He's got all this money in the world. I think there's something to be said about, you can be more polarizing the more wealthy that you are. We are well off, right? We're okay, folks. If we talk about value for value, you want to send us a boost we'd really appreciate it. We don't really have to, right? You're okay. However, it is supported and does continue for us wanting to do the podcast. So I'm not saying don't do it.
Yeah. But there is something to be said about having the little buffer to do things and to speak your own mind and be okay for whatever happens. I would imagine there's a lot of individuals who are not in that position to be able to speak their mind so freely because of what might happen on the back end of that. The more and more that you don't have something's going to happen on the back end of that, then the more you are going to be like, well, no, I'm not going to recant this. Like, okay, no, I am going to stand up to my morals or my ethics or my values or my ideas because I don't give a shit what you say or you can't do to me. You almost become a little bit more sovereign from society or the communities or the government because of it. So I think there's something to be said about how sovereign you are to how much you may speak your mind and then get the potential to be cancelled out because of it. Yeah, for sure. Kind of reminds me of our wealth episode as well that we just did, or investment, I should say. Where it was, once everything we said in there was kind of dictated by us having enough to pursue elsewhere. Because when you are living by the, skin of your teeth,
the base of Maslow's hierarchy.
That is a just completely different world. It's completely different. And you make such radically different decisions there. Once again, neither of us have ever been there. So we can't feel it in that sense, but I think I've got enough knowledge to be like, dang, that would be a shitty place to be in.
And I hate the terminology. I don't know if you've heard this. I hate the terminology people say, like, well, you can't speak your mind on that because you're not that, or you haven't been that. And it reminds me of, like, can you tell me what a cat is? You don't have to be a fucking cat to tell me what a cat is. There's a clip that's out there. It's about that. And it's like, sure, you probably don't know to the nth degree of exactly what it feels like, but you can comment on it. There are some generalities about humans and ideas that you can comment on. But we choose not to some certain degrees because in our value of providing maybe valuable advice or information or talking about it, we realize, hey, we can't speak to that because we don't really know about it. Just as equally as, are you finding us talking about venture capital and funding millions of dollars for a company? No, because we don't fucking do that. Why would you hear us talking about it? Nor are we going to preach like, oh, this is how you should do it. If you're looking to talk to some boards, it's like, no, we're not that. Unless we were, and then cool. Okay, we'll have an opinion on it because it's worthy of us having an opinion.
It's similar to the you trying to hide behind something, much like you said, we've got that mere mortals coverall now. It's kind of like, but I've got a black friend, I can't be racist. I actually kind of think that holds a little bit of weight. If you got a black friend, a Latino friend here, people, you seeing this? You seeing this? I feel like that it's not a protection per se, but I feel like it should have some weight, right?
Maybe. I got a comment the other day, actually. They were like, someone said, "Oh, Juan, you don't have many Australian friends." I don't went, you're fucking correct.
Yeah,
I think
me neither. Well,
you and maybe a couple of other
white
people.
Aussie friends.
Yeah,
Caucasian
I don't have
friends.
many white Aussie friends.
Yeah, neither.
Most of my friends are multicultural in some way, shape, or form.
Vietnamese, Papua New Guinean, Fijian, Indian.
I go Sri Lankan, Cambodian. I'm like, damn, it's very multicultural. So I don't wave that at anyone's face, though, to say again. I don't think I've ever been like,
I am better than you.
There comes our white supremacy coming out again.
Oh, yeah. I just can't keep it in, man.
Anything else you want to share with the Me Immortalized out there?
Yeah, the last one was just related to AI again. So the hot topic, you know, say we don't talk about cultural things, but here we are. Well, this is actually because I have been using it. I'm changing my tune. So I used to, I was saying I wasn't impressed with any of the individual actual ones, but I was impressed at how it's coming across in many different ways, i.e. with the DALL-E, with the actual, you know, creating of images, ChatGPT, with the kind of search functionality and whatnot, Whisper, transcription services and things like that. I was using ChatGPT to actually help me get some code, because even though my Python is still very rudimentary, it's not good enough to do web calls, to download specific, you know, files that I want, bring that into my own computer, sort them out via this different way. I was giving it a try of like, okay, download all the JSON files from this RSS feed. This was in preparation for potentially moving the book reviews across. I'll talk about that shortly. There's no way I was going to be able to do that by myself. And I did use that ChatGPT of being like, write me this code. Oh no, okay, that doesn't work. I want it in this specific way. Once again, how you're talking about the incantation, getting those exact series of words right. I spent around 30-40 minutes doing that, and I did actually manage to create something which can download all of them. Now, would it have been quicker to just download them all individually? Oh, 100%. Was it worth it doing this learning process? And I actually finally reached the limit of how many calls you could do. It kicked me off.
Oh, nice.
But I was like, okay, no, I'm actually learning some stuff here. Even though I'm not writing out the individual code, I can kind of see what it's doing here. I can kind of see how I'd be able to alter this individual one line of code to do it so that it loops and gets every single one instead of just one of them, things like that. So I do think there's some value in it. It's not all hype at the moment. There is some actual things which are changing my life. Look, it actually made me spend more hours, so thank you, AI. But it's helping me learn in a way which I haven't used before.
Look, I'll make it a stronger claim. I'll make a stronger claim, as I usually do. If you're not keeping up with the pace and the opportunities that AI is presenting itself with right now for the general humans, for 80% of the mere mortals out there, you are not just slowing down, you're going backwards to the learning and the space where other people I think are going to catch up with.
They're becoming just mortal.
I have a friend of mine who's just starting up a company at the moment, and he was able to generate the website, the content for it in about a day, 24 hours worth of effort, right? And it would have taken him genuinely days, if not weeks, to create this, right? I go, hey, if that was in a market where it needs to be in a speed perspective, it's game over if you're not using AI. Like, that's it. You're not going to be able to keep up. That's the simple thing of it. I find myself using it to some extent, not to its full extent. The more and more you start...
all these thumbnails have been...
Thumbnails. I'm using it for work. Like, I'm using it now genuinely for some of my work things. Emails. I'm using it for summarizing some of the book reviews as well. So I'll give you some of the insider secrets here for me. The way that I now write my book reviews is that I will, once I read the book, I will actually first go to ChatGPT and go summarize this particular book, if it's new and if it's old enough, summarize this particular book in dot points like you were presenting it in a book review. It'll give me quite a few dot points, and then what I'll do is I'll leverage that structure with my inputs to actually fill out what I actually want to say based on this and add my bit to it. But for me, makes it even quicker to be able to generate what I need to say, how I want to structure it. Maybe I'll shift it based on the sort of book review I want to do. But hey, that's helping me out. Someone who's brand new to doing things like that, or inject here whatever you want to be thinking about, it's just making things faster. It's moving. This is a conversation when you talk about AI, right? When we talk about it, I used to be one of the leads for Australasia AI, right? When we talked about it, it's always the case to say it's value lifting or value upskilling of your employees or your individuals, right? You want to move yourself up the value chain to be doing things that are more valuable, because the whole conversation always happens is chatbot's coming, AI is coming, it's going to take over my jobs. Yes, it will. Your tasks will be taken over, but what it means is that it makes you then available to do higher things up the value chain, right? So you're no longer having to sit there and punch out content. No, you can now create content, let's say, to 80% accuracy, and then you add the value, like the human, the mere mortal spark that makes it really good, and you can create more. So then you're providing more value to people at a quicker pace. So I really do think it's getting to the point, I won't say right now, but it's getting to the point that if you're not keeping up to date or playing around with the AI in general, like that specific technology in general, you're in danger of not just slowing down, but almost like going backwards in some respects with what you can do in your general day-to-day life. Hey. So that's my big call out.
Strong.
Big call out.
Well, if you want a non-AI book review, I don't use any. So if you're a purist, you can come over and check out my ones.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put a little claims in there and being like, this was AI supported.
AI supported.
AI supported.
This came up in the Hosky one. How would you feel if we actually ended up having an AI audience? And so all those things that we were talking about at the start, those reactions that we were getting, what if they were starting to be AI generated reactions, much like bots, but you can tell with a bot. What if it's getting to this area where you're like, oh, this is actually, instead of them being the ones creating the content, they're the ones consuming the content, and it's now that is where AI actually is, altering things a lot. Yeah. How would you feel about that?
I don't know if I've thought about the concept enough to give it enough value. I'll take that on notice, because I'm not sure. I'll leave it open to the mere mortalites at home to also think, is that good, is that bad, we find it useful? I'm not sure.
I think that's a fun philosophical question. What
came straight to my mind was, it's kind of like the equivalent saying of, what if we invented some sort of device technology so that it would read all dogs' interactions, ways of being, and translate it into written form for humans.
Speech, yeah.
So might not be right, but it's wrong in the exact same way. Would that be valuable? Not valuable?
Well, the classic, the dog barks and then it's like, I'm hungry. I think there was on a Simpsons episode.
Yeah, is that valuable? Not valuable? I'm not sure. Yeah, it's a interesting philosophical conversation to have, but I feel like I would have to really think through that one to have any opinion.
Yeah, if you want more of those philosophical ones, check out the Reality Plus book review that just came out. It's a lot of philosophy type. Then, it was cool. There's more notes here, but I think that's a good place to end it for today. I will say once again with the book reviews, so I'm leaning towards now not moving them over. I was threatening it. I was wanting to do live, but the amount of stuff that would break of me doing that, and
it's got to be worth it. It's got to be worth it.
Once again, it would be kind of sacrificing the past for the future, which I'm still leaning more towards, because I don't have these coding skills and I can't create this stuff quickly, and I don't know enough about webhooks and all these other minutiae which I am sure would break. I'm leaning more towards I won't do it for the moment, but you will notice that my latest book recap was a significant improvement, I think, over previous ones, the live episode that I did. So check that out if you want to see that we are still progressing. But other than that, thank you everyone for tuning in to the end of the Mere Mortals Meanderings episode that we have done out here in the park. This is a Value for Value podcast. We spent a lot of time creating these, researching, thinking of funny things to say, of hating on Gorillaz. That takes a lot of effort from Juan. And we just ask that you show that.
It takes no effort at all. No effort at all.
We just ask that you show that back in some form or manner of returning that value. The easiest way for you is probably just by telling a friend, saying, hey, the Mere Mortals is pretty cool, check this out. You could also send in some suggestions of perhaps bands that maybe Juan would like based on his other couple.
That would actually be really nice. I would appreciate that.
Yeah, or maybe you have insights into the music industry, or things that we said wrong, or AI, all of those sorts of things. We'd love getting that feedback and knowing what you think of this and improving it if I can. And then finally, there is the
You
ability...
can also go into our Discord. Go to our Discord as well if you want to put in quite a bit more commentary, links or something like that. That does help out as well.
For sure. There is the ability to consume all of this in minutia form. So I've now started putting the TikTok link in our description as well. Okay. So if you want to check out that, it's also selective ones are on the Instagram, and also all of them are on the YouTube Shorts or just YouTube channel in general. And then our favorite way is that you send in a boostergram. So boostergram is if you're using a better podcasting app where you get chapter images, where you get links, where you can stream in support to us as you're individually listening. So ones like this would be Fountain, Castomatic, Podverse, Breeze. Those are Podfriend even. I would suggest any of them. And then also going on to newpodcastapps.com, podcastapps.com, nudepodcastapps.com. Any of them, all of them will lead you to a place where you can see these and get one that you particularly enjoy. And just sending in a message in one of those apps with a portion of Bitcoin attached comes straight to us. We see it as it comes in, and it fills my heart with joy. Oh, that was a good rant there.
That was a lot there.
So many things you can do there. Do not be at... I don't want anyone ever claiming, I didn't know what to do after listening. Fuck off. I just listed a billion things.
There's plenty of things there that you've listed that you can support. For now, me and Morning Lights, we're going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed. Juan out.
Karen out.